What we're flexible.
Yeah. So
I should have clocked it. I've done enough of it, so I should have clocked it too. So I should have spotted that.
yeah, I mean, it happens, but it's okay.
It's like,
Yeah. How are you feeling? Good?
yeah, good, really good.
Okay.
I could talk
Okay.
for hours, so you're good.
Okay. You're very easy to talk to, so that makes it
You'll have
always
to
good.
say because yeah, it's easy to chat to you. I don't have any struggle. I did a podcast very quickly. I did a podcast last week with someone. It was really difficult. It was really difficult, and I've just not had that experience often. So I normally really enjoy them. That one, I was just like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, so no, this is fun.
Good. Uh,
Got it. Right.
okay.
All right.
Okay.
Are you all ready for your next segment?
Okay. Thanks, Jordan.
No problem. All right. Going in 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to Women Thriving Unapologetically. We are having an amazing conversation with Lauren Langman from Absolute Dogs and Devon Dogs. And Lauren does so many things, but we've been having this incredible conversation about how we just stay aligned with our heart and understanding that when we stay in aligned with our heart, it might not always look like what everyone else is doing, and that's perfectly okay. And Lauren, well, let me tell you this might come as a shock to you, but I'm not a dog person. But I fell in love with someone who is, which made me fall in love with her dog. And then we got another dog. So I've been really amazed at just watching her and her connection to her dogs and just learning and seeing the beautiful relationship that's there. And the way that I actually came across you is through my partner, Laura, because she had to have a hip resurfacing during COVID because she's an athlete and having wear and tear on her hip. But our dog Maisie was highly reactive, like really like cray cray on the leash because she just gets so excited to see people. But we knew that during rehabilitation, that couldn't happen because it could re-injure Laura and be really dangerous for her in her rehabilitation. And so she found your Sexier Than the Squirrel podcast.
Yeah.
And that was the rabbit hole. Like she fell into that and like it was so helpful for her. And then she's taken your Absolute Dogs training and become a certified dog trainer. And I've just been seeing the changes and how she is based and also in the dogs as well. But I got to listen to you and Tom and how positive you are and just these because we had hired another dog trainer who didn't use positive reinforcement and gains-based training. It was really did not feel good in our bodies at all to use those tactics. And so finding you and listening to you, I was like, wow, I'm also a coach, and I'm like, she's using a lot of the same things that we use for humans. And how important this is. And I feel like you're not just training the dogs, but you're training the humans.
Absolutely. I think that it's funny. I had a great coach when I was growing up. He was called Michael, and I definitely outgrew my coach, I think, to a degree. But like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I first started, I remember he said to me, and I think it was fantastic coaching advice. He said, Lauren, the thing that's going to get you a long way in this is not to love the dogs. He said, loving the dogs, of course, it's good. Really importantly, here, you need to learn to love the people. And he said, the cool thing is, I don't even think you need to learn because I actually think you already love people. And he said, that's where you'll be a cut above the rest in what you do. Loving the people is allowing you to get to the dogs, right? And if you don't love the people, then you'll never have the conversation with the dog. And I think that's so true, that if you can work with people, or if you can enjoy people, or if you can relate to people or get people on board, it doesn't really matter what your business is or what your like journey is. I think being able to relate to people or get people to relate to what you're talking about, I think it's definitely a technique in coaching, right? Like it's that relatability or that person, you just want that personal touch, that personal feeling, or that feeling that you can work together in some way.
So when what's the biggest challenge that you've had with working with people?
Oh, so many. Probably limited beliefs. So people who have limited beliefs, I can't do this because, or we can't do this because, or this dog can't do this because they're this breed, or I can't do this because I'm disabled, or I'm too old for this, or I'm too heavy for this, or my husband won't allow me this, or like those limited beliefs, those beliefs that stop us. And actually, the more we repeat them, the worse they get. And actually, I mean, my mum said the other day to me, well, Lauren, the thing is, you can't have it all. And I'm like, well, why not? Like, who says you can't have it all? Like, that's no rule. Like, or maybe that I had this a long time ago. I've stopped this now. I've got better at it. But I had this sort of feeling that everything was going so right, something had to go wrong because everything was going so right. Like, it's those sort of limited beliefs and those patterns of behavior that you find yourself falling into and saying again and again, and almost making come true because you repeat them and you manifest them in the way that you put it out to the universe. And I think for me, it's really, really important that you find yourself interrupting. You know what it's like. We get in our own way. And I think so many of our students get in their own way. Like, they get in their own way. They allow themselves all of these like really poor excuses and reasons they can't achieve something rather than actually focusing on solution. So I think probably tackling negative mindsets, trying to interrupt negative sort of talk and negative flow, and to try and, I don't find it difficult, probably more, it's a nice challenge. Like, that's probably the biggest challenge is continuing to, and probably topping up your own optimism in that, and looking after your own care, mental health, whatever you want to call it. I think when you're working with a lot of people that have those limited beliefs, because you'll hear them so often that you have to sort of almost interrupt them when you find yourself going down that route too.
Yeah, it's like an immediate pattern interrupt to change that trajectory of that pattern. And so, and I can see that's how it works with the dog training. I mean, I'm not a dog training expert. I'm watching my partner Laura do this, and I'm watching you and all the videos that you have out there, that it is like a pattern interrupt in that behavior so that you can have the result that you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think just having those strategies with people, as soon as you give people an easy win, they're on board. And I think as soon as you onboard people, then you'll get more easy wins. And as soon as they get more easy wins, they'll feel better. And suddenly you're on this pathway to success. And for us, that has been, the funny thing is, Lynsie, I really didn't realize that when we started this, that what I'd actually be doing is really coaching people. I really didn't clock that. I thought I was living my best life playing with dogs. And actually, I'm living my best life playing with dogs and working with their people. And if I can onboard people, I've had so many thousands of messages, emails, cards, flowers, gifts, presents, like things. And I'm not requesting presents. I mean, literally, it's insane. It's actually insane for people who say we have changed their lives. We have here we have a holiday cottage center where people come and they come and stay. And I had a lady 2 or 3 weeks ago that just said that she didn't see any hope in her life. She didn't see any forward in her life. She didn't see any good in her life. She was staying here. She was staying up in a very, very beautiful spot. It's looking over the Tors. It's on the moor. It's just beautiful. It's just up the road. And she just said it was almost healing to be part of this very special energy. And on top of the very special energy, in the middle of the moorland, looking out onto the Tors, like, she just said it changed her whole trajectory. And she said she hasn't looked back, and she's just doing this. And I think there will always be a level of this. I think that life gives you a level of this. And I think if it was like this, then we would be dead, right? Like, that's like flatlining. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to have those ups and downs, because
so just so the listeners know that you're doing the up and down with the hand, and because it's radio.
But for me, those moments of like their pulse, right? Like they're the highs and lows of life. And my dad said something great to me. My dad's, he's terminal with cancer. And he said to me, the thing is with life, Lauren, is that all of the good bits, enjoy them. They don't last. And at the same time, all of the bad bits, ride through them. Remember, they don't last. And he kind of said, whatever it is, enjoy those moments, because whether it's good or whether it's bad, it's not going to stay the same. It's changeable. And he definitely wasn't saying it in a pessimistic way. And he's actually very optimistic about where he is. He's 3 years on after a diagnosis of terminal and being told he had 3 months. He's doing pretty well. At the same time, it is still terminal. And to hear that from someone in his position, where he's like, you know what, enjoy the highs. They're amazing. And remember, it will change. right? And at the same time, when the lows are there, remember it's going to change and it's going to get better. So actually remember to ride it and to sort of take it in at each level and at each moment. And I think that for me was really like poignant moment to like sit and chat with him about it. I was currently moaning about the house at the time. We had a builder struggle, and I'm sure everyone's had a builder struggle. Like that was a fun experience, I can tell you. And so I was just saying, look, Dad, this is this and that is that. And he was just like, Lauren, you know what? This moment will pass. This too shall pass. And I think this too shall pass, like feeling of like this moment for me is really beautiful. Everything here is so beautiful. There's so much good in my life. And I have to take it all in because it will also pass, right? Like there will be a rainy day, or there will be a difficult day, or there will be a day that throws you some challenges. You know what? Enjoy all of the moments.
Yeah, it's just such beautiful advice. And, you know, you've definitely had your challenges. And so how do you actually move through those obstacles? Like when you're hit with them, because you've had a lot of them, you know, with, you know, particularly with some dogs and, you know, because you're so attached to your dogs. And how do you meet those challenges when they do occur?
I had a really difficult COVID, to be honest. COVID into the next probably year or two. So and for those of you that have a dog, you'll understand the love of a dog. And for those of you that don't have a dog, you know what, you'll understand love. So when you love someone or something, you just want the best for them, and you just want them to thrive, and you just want them to be comfy, and you don't want to see them in pain. And you know what, for me, seeing my dog she had an accident, she was sprinting and she was paralyzed. And that for me hurt at the very like core of like her, like it was painful, and I couldn't even discuss it. I couldn't talk about it. I just had to pretend it hadn't happened because I didn't know how to deal with it. For me, that was definite trauma. I haven't experienced much trauma in my life. Twice I've had two things that are traumatic, and that was one of them. And that just plain hurt. Like I didn't know how to deal with it. I couldn't speak about it. I was not like, and she was alive, and she is alive, but it's a very different pathway having a dog that's effectively disabled and paralyzed and has a lot of care needs. That's difficult, and making ethical decisions is also difficult, and I don't feel always qualified to do that, right? Like, do you keep her in her current state, or do you I think that's hard. Second one was my dog was diagnosed with cancer, her sister. So I had two sisters, one paralyzed and one diagnosed with cancer, given a very short, sort of difficult prognosis. My dad then diagnosed with cancer, and then terminal. And then my nan passed away, and I was with her. And as she was taking her final breaths. And for me, those four things, they just hit and hit and hit and hit. And I think it's one of those things alone was difficult. And when you're stacked with a few of them, suddenly you realize how people's perception changes, and you realize, like, yes, it's great to be optimistic when life is good. Like, it's easy to be optimistic, right, when life is good. And when you're thrown those things, you suddenly, like, it can wobble you, or it can take you to a different place. And I think for me, there were a few hacks, tips, tricks, things that I did to try and keep me in a sane place. And don't get me wrong, that didn't mean that I didn't wobble, or I didn't find myself crying, or like just difficult places, really difficult spaces, and feeling a bit dark. Like, there are definitely those times, questioning even things like life, which I'd never really questioned before, or death, which I'd definitely never questioned before. And suddenly I was questioning all these things that were not there before for me. But the things that kept me happy, and the things that kept me sane, and the things that kept me in a great space, probably getting outside, being out in nature, not staying still. So moving. So like doing something movement based, going for a walk, doing some exercise, taking a moment to do a yoga class, or a Pilates class, or even if it was online, like even if it was an online sort of space, and a class that wasn't even live, like just doing something that got me moving, that was huge. Changing my language about it, so being aware of what I'm speaking about and who I'm speaking about it to, because you can find yourself being very problem based, and you can find yourself rolling and discussing the problem over and over and over again, and being with people who want to discuss the problem and who want to go down that route of the problem. And so for me, I had to interrupt the problem talk and find myself in a better language space. So finding better ways to discuss things. So rather than a problem, a challenge, or rather than stressed, stretched. So like replacing words in a really simple way, and trying to find a fun way to say something was really difficult. And so language being very, very powerful. And then definitely trying to be around people that made me joyful. people that bring out the good stuff in me.
And so what I hear you saying is that you're not, bypassing the emotions that are coming up or bypassing the experience, but you're choosing to still be in the experience, but not to amplify the pain of it. Or, sometimes we get caught up in what we call in the circles that I run in, like the trauma bonding. We just stay down there in that rabbit hole and we just uncover all this stuff over and over and keep regurgitating it, instead of seeing, okay, yes, I'm feeling all of these things, and this is an important experience of this life, but how can I shift my perspective just enough so that I can see, the opportunity that's here, that it's not And so I love that. Yeah.
Finding the opportunity in it. For Brave, for example, I've coached lots of other people. Brave is my dog who was paralyzed. I found lots of understanding of people who are in a similar position. I've been able to help people with dogs who are also struggling in the same way. I understand a lot about rehabilitation. I understand a lot, and I feel a lot more empathetic to situations like that, which I wouldn't have had before. Like I just wouldn't have had that same, when you're in it, it's so different. The same with my dad. I mean, the other thing, the massive opportunity that came out of my dad and understanding like his diagnosis was live each moment even more. Like, how can I find even more joy in every day? How can I find even more joy in this car journey? Like I was talking to my coach. I've got a coach who coaches me sports, so sports coaching, top end sports coaching. And I was like, I went to a big competition at the weekend and I didn't do what I wanted to do there. I had a fault and I wanted to go clear, and we were 22 hours on the road, and I could easily have taken myself in this very downward spiral of like, what a waste of time and what a waste of money, and like how bad I was, or like how I didn't do what I needed to do. And ultimately I tried and I was present and I was there. And he said, well, what good do you see in those moments? And I was like, I love spending my time with my partner. Like Matt is such a cool guy and I love spending time with him, and we have loads of fun on the road trip. And actually, what joy do you find in those moments, and what good came out of that? Because ultimately it is all about the journey anyway. It's not really about when you win that class, it's about the journey to winning those things and all of those experiences in it. So I think, yeah, what opportunities do you find in it? And for my dad, the biggest one was understanding health a bit more. I have regular blood tests. I don't drink tap water anymore. I drink only water from, like, we have a borehole here, and if I'm away, I'll only drink bottled water. And I know that might sound crazy for some, but for me, that was like some of the big takeaway. Like, I'm not drinking stuff that I don't know where it's come from or what it's got in it. I don't really use chemicals and toxins and poisons like I used to, in the sense of like things around your house. And I'm a lot more awake to what I want to use on my skin or what I want to use in my environment, and what I want to do to the environment. So all of these things I've woken up to, and yet I wouldn't have been awake to them. Blood testing, I do regular blood tests to see where my own health is and what I'm doing. What I eat, I consider way more what I eat and how it's produced and where it's come from. And that was a wake up from my dad's cancer. And so I feel grateful for the opportunity to understand things that, or at least explore things that I would never have questioned before.
Yeah, and just remain curious. And, in the work that I do, it's, oftentimes everyone's like trying to reach for these bigger states of enlightenment, but it's really about those small moments that we wake up, and we have to have things, challenges or difficulties, or maybe a kick in the ass that gets us to wake up, because most of the time we are sleepwalking through our lives. And so these little challenges can be just like the universe's way of nudging us just to wake up a little bit more and a little bit more, so that we can start to really experience more of the joy, and even the joy that is in the difficulty. So we are up to our second and last break of the show. So we do have to go to a short break. But as I mentioned before, women rise and thrive together. And this show is really about the mission of bringing a global platform for women to share their gifts and their voices and their messages, so that we can all benefit from that and learn how that we can start to awaken our divine feminine power, so that we can be the leaders of this next generation that's coming in. So if you want to be a sponsor of the show, please reach out to me at thrivingunapologetically@gmail.com, and we'll be right back after this short break.
All clear. Let me get that one saved, and
Okay.
we're good to go in just a second.
Okay, thank you. This is just flying by. We need more time.
It is so quick. I'm like, my God, it's gone already. I genuinely did not realize that is that quick. Like,
yeah, it's so easy to talk to you. So, and that happens every time when you have a guest, that everything just flows. And Yeah. And I'm looking at, I had all these questions. I'm like, oh, well, I think
I do that so often. I do that and I'm like, oh, I didn't quite cover that one, but I'm sure we covered it in conversation there. And it's nice when it flows.
I do have to ask you a question that my partner wanted to have me ask you. So
Definitely.
she so wanted to be sitting behind me watching this whole thing because she just was like, oh.
I love it. I love this.
All right, I'm all ready for your next segment.
Yeah.
This one's going to be about 14 minutes.
Okay.
All right, ready for your counting? Going in 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, everyone, to Women Thriving Unapologetically. We're here with Lauren Langman, and we're talking about how optimism and positive mindset can be a real reframe for the way that we live our lives. And so, Lauren, as I mentioned before the break, my partner, Laura, is just an avid fan. And so she wanted me to ask you this one question. So she said, wants to know that what has been the most challenging thing that you have had to train a dog?
I think a beagle in Bermuda, and it was a recall, which does not sound like a difficult thing. However, for this dog, it was probably my most challenging experience. The dog had probably spent about 2 years running free, chasing rabbits and doing what the dog enjoyed. And effectively, what you're doing is you're taking a self-employed dog or an unemployed dog, self-employed, unemployed, depending on how you looked at this dog, and you're trying to employ him in your games. And that's really, really tough when he's found a game that he really, really enjoys. And it's like trying to take me out of my dog training and put me in an office, right? Like he was just like, this is not where I'm going right now. And you could see that you were taking him to work and he was like, I'm not ready to work. And he was, so I suppose it's not a challenging behavior, but it was a challenging behavior for him and his experience. And I was out in Bermuda teaching. I've been really lucky in my career. I have taught in Bermuda, Canada, literally America, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. I've had an amazing teaching career. And I didn't really realize when I first got into this that I would be in all of these fun places, like really, really cool places to be, especially when it's raining in the UK. I'm like, get me out of here. So I can hop on a plane and train a dog in Bermuda, which is really cool, isn't it? That you can go to another country and train another dog in a place you've never been. And did you know Bermuda is like 1 mile wide? It's insane. It's a really, really, really tiny place and yet huge still in its own way. Like, anyway, this little beagle, he was difficult. And the reason he was difficult is how he'd spent his last, his whole history, really, his whole life. And they have we don't really have that so much here, but in Bermuda, they explained to me they have a freedom fence. And I was like, oh, wow, a freedom fence. That sounds amazing. Like, that sounds really cool. Like, I love the sound of a freedom fence. What I didn't realize was a freedom fence is an electric fence, which we just don't have here. Like, electric collars are banned in the UK. That type of training isn't really advocated. And it's very different here in the UK to some other parts of the world. So for me, I was sad for the dog, really, because I don't think we need to use electric fences to keep dogs in. I think there are better ways. Like, my dogs don't want to leave me. Like, they want to hang out because I'm fun and I play games and I try and do things in a fun way. But for this little dog, he'd been taught through aversives or punishments or punishment methods. And so working with the owner wasn't that fun. And running with the rabbits was very fun. And he didn't have a great relationship with his owner. So what we did first off was we topped up his relationship bank account, which is basically getting him and the owner to speak at the same, on the same page, really, and have the same language. And then in addition to that, we tried to make it really fun for the owner. An example of this was I went into school not that long ago with where Eliza's my daughter, was learning, and Tom and I were there, and they were saying that children are all stressed because they've got a test. And Tom was like, you know what, surely they're just excited because they've got like a game to play. And they were like, no, they're stressed because it's a test. And we're like, no, maybe they're just having lots of fun because they're going to have a cool challenge today. And I think sometimes it's how you package something. I think if you package it as a stressful test, then of course it's going to be stressful, because what we say something is it's going to become that. And so for the owner of this beagle, we packaged everything as games. We made it a lot of fun. We made sure there were some easy wins. What made it hard was the dog had a long time rehearsing it. So that was tough. When I think about, though, on the flip side for Laura, in case she means what was a difficult thing to teach a dog, I have taught a dog to skip a skipping rope. That is a difficult skill to
I want to see that one.
I've been working on it with Eliza, who is obviously little and wants the challenges of skipping and a skipping rope. So that is what she's doing. It's a lot of fun. She's got a lot of tricks. Liza loves training tricks. And Liza's got a great little dog that her and her little dog, her dog's called Avocado. So her and Avocado, or Katie, Katie play lots of different tricks, but skipping ropes is probably one of the harder ones. Holding a paw in her face, listening to Eliza and she whispers in Eliza's ear. Eliza's got some cool tricks. So I'd say probably some of Eliza's things are probably the hardest. She's a child and she wants to do fun, crazy things, right? So yeah, probably her thing. So yeah, both answers there for you.
And I hope everyone that's listening is kind of putting this together for their own lives, that when we just can reframe things and make things more fun, like how can we include something that, a game or something, or how can we make our work more fun? How can we reframe how we're perceiving the challenges that we have, so that there is more lightness and joy that comes in, so that we're resonating at the frequency that will bring in more of what we actually want in our lives, instead of more of the drudgery or the challenges or the pain or the suffering. And so how can we just make it fun and not use these aversive tactics? Like, so often people will be like beat themselves up, and have that negative speak as a way of motivating themselves, which is really not motivating you. And so you use the positive reinforcement, the gains-based training, so that it becomes fun. The animals want to spend time with you because you are fun, and you can do that for yourself and for your work.
It changes your life. Like it's revolutionary in a sense that, I mean, we have taken the dog training world by storm, like beyond what I ever expected to do. I was just playing with dogs. Like, this was not ever what my vision for this was. Like, I am so not techie. Like, for a start, I'm not techie. And yet we've got a massive online dog training business, right? And I'm not techie. Like, I couldn't tell you how to log in or anything. Like, I'm just not the techie person. And yet I think what's taking the world by storm is having fun, being lighthearted, laughing at yourself, losing yourself a little bit, losing your inhibitions, taking yourself back to being a child. Like, all of the things that I really enjoyed when I was being a child, I get to do now. I get to play with animals. I get to have a lot of fun. I've rolled around on the grass. I literally have a great day. And I'm quite a serious person. And so, or I take myself a bit too seriously sometimes. So all of these things are great because they allow your inner child to just come back out again. And for me, when I am playing games with owners, you see their faces light up and you see their worries go away. You can see for that minute they lose themselves. And I think this is where it's really important. And when you were saying about language, I think this is really cool, Lynsie, because our team recently, we have like lists of things to do, or we have like, when you get I can't remember, task, what do we call it? We call it like a workload. And I was like, we're not calling this a workload. Like, that just sounds like pack horse, or like it just sounds terrible, right? Like, it doesn't sound good. This is my workload for the week. Here's my capacity for the week. I'm like, don't like it. These are my get to do's. Like let's think of something that this is the master plan, or like, let's think of something empowering, something that's going to like uplift us, not something that's going to make us feel like workload. I'm like, that's just sad. Before I even get into it, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't even want to know about a workload. Right?
I'm always trying to find a new word for work. I'm like, oh, that's a 4-letter word. And I love like the get to do's. Yeah. And so I'm always trying to find something new that feels lighter, so that my work feels lighter, because there are times, there are certain things that you have to do that suck, that are not as fun as rolling around the grass and playing with the chickens, but I make sure that like, for me personally, like, what I have to do every day is start my day with my practices. And part of my practice now is to make sure that my feet are on the ground. I'm putting my hands on the trees. I'm going out in nature to connect to that before I come and sit at my desk.
I love that.
So that there is that connection there and that groundedness, so that when I come to my desk, then I feel like, oh, I get to do this now, because I started my day with what nourishes me. And I love when you said that, people, how they lose themselves, but sometimes I would like to reframe that and say that that's when they find themselves.
Yeah.
That's when you find yourself in that moment. And so, and we live in such a pessimistic culture. Here's
an example. No news. I don't want to listen to the news. I don't have the radio on. I don't have the news on. Like, I'm not listening to the news, Lynsie. Like,
I don't either.
If I go into my mum and dad's house and the news is on, I'm like, how do I stop this? Like, how do I stop this like negative pattern of someone's died, someone's about to be killed, there's a war on, there's money owed here, there's debt over there, there's poverty here. And I want to help, right? And I want to help in my way, but I definitely don't want to take myself to that place.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, everything that you've said so far is about how you just followed your heart, how you really have just listened to that. You've moved against convention. You decided to follow what lights you up and do what is fun and follow that joy. And even if it didn't make sense to your parents, even if it didn't make sense to what the cultural norm was, even if it might not have made sense in your mind at the time, and you were able to build this life that you absolutely love and has taken you to places that you never even dreamed of, that there was almost like a guiding force that was carrying you to these bigger, I want to say more expanded states. And yet I know, just listening more about your story, that there's probably something else that might be percolating there. So is there something else that hasn't been realized that
I just have to really quickly touch on, I don't think it was even that the path was not like encouraged. My parents were horrified that I was leaving the law career. Like, they were so embarrassed. It was bad enough I was going to be a teacher, let alone a dog trainer. They were like, she wants to be a dog trainer. Like, we've invested everything we have in this child, and she wants to be a dog trainer. We are disgusted. They couldn't even talk to me. Like, they wanted to disown me. Anyway, you know what? There are definitely moments where there's more, right? There's more. I definitely enjoy working with people. I enjoy coaching. I enjoy helping people find their passion. I enjoy encouraging, cheerleading, and allowing people to see light when they haven't had such a great time of it. And I enjoy helping and facilitating and empowering like new businesses. And there are so many things I love to do, and absolutely love our dog training. And I definitely feel I'm in a place where we've achieved so much. I will look for the next levels. I definitely haven't yet found exactly where I'm going. I definitely want to, at some point, I will live in more sunshine. I don't know when I will live in more sunshine, but yeah, there are definitely coaching aspirations there for me. I think that is what I also really, really enjoy.
And so we're nearing the end of the show. So I want to make sure that everyone listening knows how to connect with you. So, because there's so many ways. So what is the one place that is the best way to connect with you? Because you're on YouTube, you're on you're everywhere.
I would say the Absolute Dogs Facebook page. There's loads of material there, so people can have a look at it, and there's lots of freebies, and they can take from there, or you can take from there whatever you want. Sex in a Squirrel podcast on Spotify, and that is a fantastic place to check in the learning, really, and hear what we do. And there's actually quite a few people learning podcasts on there. I do them with a couple of friends of mine, and we try and coach people. And I really do love that. That's probably an area I'd love to move more towards what we're talking about. Like, there's a lot of joy there, and I didn't even realize it until I kind of talked more about it. And there is a lot of joy there. And then, the Facebook page, the Absolute Dogs main Facebook page, Sex in a Squirrel podcast on Spotify. We've got a Devon Dogs website as well for our in-person training. So that's devondogs.co.uk. So many different spaces, and literally reach out. We're here. And if we can help in any way, we'd love to.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the show, and definitely reach out and pay attention, even if you're not a dog lover or a dog person, because there's so many rich insights that you share on those all the sites, because I listen to them as well, and I'm like, wow, this is incredible material. And so thank you so much again, and thank you all for listening to Women Thriving Unapologetically. And definitely reach out. We're a growing community, and you can reach me at thrivingunapologetically@gmail.com. I'm very accessible, and I love to build community and support each and every one of you as you rise and thrive together. So much love and many blessings. Until next time.
We're all clear. Great show today.
Okay. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it.
No problem. You two have a great rest of your week.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Lauren. That was amazing. I'm gonna hit stop record for a second, and then we can chat without being recorded.